Good afternoon. I would like to welcome all the brothers and sisters coming in person and also brothers and sisters watching the YouTube online. 我要在这边欢迎每一位来参加我们下午的聚会的弟兄姐妹们，还有就是在我们电脑上看我们现场直播的弟兄姐妹们，我们都欢迎你们Thank you. 那么呢，下午我们有这个戴汉斯博士继续为我们讲一个非常美好的一个这个感人的这个故事，一个见证So this afternoon we have Dr. Hans Dio share with us a wonderful story, wonderful testimony about one brother who have some the heart issue and he has been turning around.
Good afternoon. I have learned over my career that you can give people a very good lecture. You might even give them sometimes a brilliant lecture. And yet when you ask people the next day, how was the lecture? Oh, it was good. And what was it that was good? Oh, it was outstanding. I mean, anything in particular? It was just really, really good. Already forgotten.
那么呢，我在我的这个工作经验当中，我记得很清楚，就是很多的人呢，他们听完一个很好的这个医学讲座之后问他们说哦，讲得好不好？他们说哦，讲得非常好，非常好。那什么内容呢？他们确实不记得，他只是觉得说很好而已。
So, but I have learned if you tell people a story.
所以我学到就说是当你把一个故事跟人家分享的时候
，a story has emotions.
那这个故事本身有它的这个高潮
，and emotions help you to remember.
那么呢，我们必须要把这个重点呢给记起来。
So I'm going to tell you a story.
那么呢，我必须要跟各位讲这个故事
And I hope you will distill out of the story some of the important principles of how to structure your lifestyle.
那么呢，从这些故事当中，我们要学到是怎么个把我们的这个生活习惯呢，做一个美好的一个改变
It was 3 minutes before 7 o'clock.
那么这个就是在7点之前的3分钟前
And I knew I had to be at the platform exactly at 7 o'clock.
那我记得就是我要在那个晚上7点之前那个3分钟前呢，必须要到这个讲台上面。
It was the 4th night of a lecture series of 16 lectures talking about how to live the best life and reverse common killer diseases.
那么我当时就是正好有这个16场的这个健康讲座，都是晚上在讲的。那么这个16场健康讲座的第4场，关于怎么个逆转这个会得到心脏疾病的这个冠状动脉的疾病
It was important for me to be on time.
那么呢，我当时本来应该要在那边就是准时到场的。
Because many of the people in this Canadian town were of German origin.
为什么呢？因为在那一个地方，我演讲的那个地方是加拿大的一个地方，有很多德国裔的人。那么德国人呢，他们喜欢准时。
And if you know one thing about German people, they are always on time.
你知道这个德国人他们做事情就是他们总是永远都是准时开始的。
They are fanatical about being on time.
他们关于这个准时的这个事情有点是像一种狂热的。
The trains always run on time.
他们那个德国的这个火车总是准时开的。
And it's embedded in the German DNA that you are on time, otherwise you're wasting people's time.
如果在德国人的这个基因里面来说呢，如果说你不是一个准时的人，那你就是在浪费别人的时间。
And I was just about trying to get to the platform when somebody called me and said, Dr. Dio, we need to see you.
那么呢，我正好要就是在来这个台上之前就有一个人来跟我讲说，戴汉斯博士，有人要来跟你见面，有人必须要跟你讲
I knew I couldn't do that.
我说我没办法能够跟他见面
I had to be on time to start the program.
他说对不起，我不能够跟你见面，因为我必须要准时的来这个开始在演讲
So I turned my back to whoever was calling me. It meant business, close for business.
所以我就把我的这个背后呢我把我的背后转向那一个要找我的人，不管他跟我有什么事情呢，我都觉得说跟我无相关。
And then the voice called even louder out to me.
然后那个要叫我的人，他声音就更大了。
Dr. Dio, we drove 6 hours to see you. We need to see you now.
他说戴汉斯博士，我们开着车子开了6个小时来找你，我们现在就一定要见你。
I begin to think,
我就开始在想，
6 hours driving, that's a distance from the town I was in at that time to Creston, where I had conducted a program 6 months earlier.
那个我就在想说，所谓的6个小时，就说是就是我呢过去在这个6个小时之前的那个一个城市叫做 Creston 那个地方呢，就是讲这个健康讲座，是差不多就是在那个地方一样的地方。
Could this be alumni from my CHIP program in Creston 6 months earlier?
我就想说，有没有可能是我6个月前在 Creston 这个地方曾经讲过健康这些系列的，来听过演讲的人呢？
And if they were my graduates, my alumni, I needed to be loyal to them and recognize them.
那如果说他是我过去所讲的这个学员当中的一个学生的话呢，我就必须要尊重他们。
But I also had 1,500 people waiting there in the auditorium to starting the 4th night program.
当时呢，但是呢，正好有115个人在等着我，就是他们是在要等着我讲第4场的演讲。
What should I do?
那我怎么办呢？
Either way, I would lose.
不管是哪一边呢，我都会就是得不到就是人心。
So I turn around
所以我就转过来，
and I recognize Robert Anderson and his wife Teresa.
我就记得说是这个 Robert Anderson， 还有就是他的太太 Teresa。
And then I had this bright idea.
我就想到有这样一个事情，
I have them once in a while.
我就突然间想到有一个这个聪明的这个解决方法。
And I turned to Bob.
我就跟这个Robert Anderson， 他的那个 Robert 的英文叫做 Bob。
And I said, Bob, what are the chances for you to not, I don't have the time right now, but can you tell me the story in front of all the people? You will bless all of these people, 1,500 people, not just me.
我就想到说，我说跟这个 Bob 说，Bob， 我现在要上台演讲，但是呢，我现在没时间了。这样子好了，你帮我在台上呢分享你的故事，好不好啊？
I expected a great report.
我就想说，那个他一定会有一个讲一个非常好的故事的。
I wasn't too sure that he would say yes.
我本来就犹豫说他会不会讲，他会不会答应我？
Because most people are more deadly afraid of speaking in public than dying.
因为有许多的人呐，他们就是叫他们在台上讲话呢，他宁可就是选择去死啊，这么紧张啊。
And this 66-year-old man says, "Yes, sir, I'm happy to do it."
然后呢，这个人呢，他就突然就跟我讲说：“是的，我愿意为你这样做。”
I had solved the problem.
我说：“哦，我就把这个问题就解决了。”
We go together up to the platform.
我们就一起把他带到这个台上来。
And then I make my first mistake.
我就做了一个错误哈。
I give Robert Anderson the mic.
我就把这个麦克风给那个 Robert Anderson。
And I tell the people, we're very fortunate to have a special speaker tonight that is going to give you a short idea what happened in Creston 6 months ago when Mr. Anderson and his wife went through the CHIP program.
我就跟他们讲说，这个当6个月前这个安德森先生跟他太太参加我的这个心脏冠动脉疾病的这个演讲 CHIP program 的时候呢，他所经历到的事情。
Remember, I said a short review of what happened to him.
我就跟他讲说是，就他会跟我们短短的报告，我是这样子讲的。
Apparently, he didn't hear that.
但是他大概没有听清楚我讲的。
He had the mic.
他拿到了麦克风，
He was in charge.
他呢就是现在有麦克风，他现在可以发号施令了。
And he took full charge of having the mic.
他整个这个麦克风都拿得紧紧的啊。
Now, I need to tell you, before I did anything else, he said to the people, I'm just so happy to be with you here today. We drove 6 hours to tell you, don't believe everything that this man is telling you.
我没想到他讲的第一句话就说是我们开车子从 Creston 来这边6个小时呢，我要来跟各位讲，你们不要去相信这个戴汉斯博士所讲的每一句话。
Pointing at me, he said, this man cost us $30,000.
他就讲说，这个人呢，就是让我们花费这个$35,000。
And with 2 sentences, he had disrobed me. I stood there naked in front of the people. All my credibility was gone.
Sorry, yeah.
All my credibility was gone. I stood there naked before the people because he disrobed me.
那么呢，我站在那边，我就觉得，哎呦，他这个人这样一讲话呢，我所有的就是别人对我的这个尊重、跟权威、跟信任的都消失了。
I thought I didn't hear right.
我觉得说，哎呦，我是不是听错了啊？
$30,000 this man cost us.
他说，这个人呢，花费我们$35,000。
I knew it wasn't such a bright idea to give him the mic.
我就说，哎呀，我错了，我不应该把这个麦克风拿给他。
Never give anybody a mic with a public audience like this unless you know what they're going to say.
绝对不要把麦克风给随便一个人哈，除非你知道那个人要讲什么话。
And I have to also tell you that I am a gradualist.
那么呢，我是一个逐渐要把工作完成的人。
When it comes to dietary things,
特别是好像关于这个饮食营养。
I don't tell people, as of tomorrow, no more M&Ms. As of tomorrow, no more chicken. As of tomorrow, no more beer. No. I don't do this.
我不会跟他们讲说，你明天开始你就不要再吃鸡肉，明天开始你就不要再喝啤酒，明天就开始你就不要这个不要这个，我不会这样子教你。
I'm a gradualist.
我是一个逐渐完成使命这样的一种教导的人。
I have 16 lectures, each one an hour and a half long. I introduce the concepts gradually.
我有这个16场这个演讲，我过去教的时候呢，我都是一场一场慢慢的教导人家。
I build a castle of knowledge.
我先把这个知识这个城堡呢建立起来
with different rooms.
用这个不同的这个房间建造城堡。
And I encourage people to be there every night because you don't want to miss building one of these special rooms. You want to have the concepts being built step by step by step to understand.
然后我就告诉人，就是你不要这个错过每一场讲这个16场的这个演讲当时哈，因为呢这个我是把每一个城堡里面的房间一间房间一间房间给建造起来，你要有许多这些知识要学会。
And just to tell you what it means to be a gradualist.
我就跟你们分享什么叫做就是逐渐完成。
The first 3-4 lectures, I actually talk about atherosclerosis. I talk about what is disease. I talk about basic concepts before I go into the diet-disease relationship.
然后就是我从前都说，比方说前面的第3堂到4堂呢，我都是先跟人家讲说什么叫做这个血管动脉硬化，什么叫做疾病，先把这些观念教好之后呢，后来才慢慢逐渐的教人家关于这个饮食的习惯。
I lay the foundation.
我就把这个基础先跟人家打好。
And even when it comes to dietary concepts, I introduce them very gradually as people become more and more comfortable and the credibility in me grows more and more.
然后呢，就算是这个教人家关于营养跟饮食呢，我也是慢慢的逐步教导。当我把这些知识告诉人家，让他们把这个信任跟权威建立在我的身上的时候呢，我再教他们。
Because most dietary concepts the people are not familiar with because they never had any instruction by the physicians.
你知道吗？为什么呢？因为呢，有许多的人关于这个饮食的观念，他们都不清楚。为什么？因为很多的医生呢，从来都没有教导过他们。
And so, I was prepared to do the same thing with this group of people here in this city again, gradually building their confidence and I'm helping them to understand the various concepts and to create a symphony of values to help them to implement a holistic concept of health.
所以呢，我在这个加拿大另外一个这个城市呢，我教导他们的时候也是一样，就逐渐的把这些观念给教导起来，就好像是这个把一首交响曲、交响乐曲呢教导他们一样，最后就是完成整个这个最美好的一个演奏。
Here's Bob Anderson.
那现在呢，这个人在我的所邀请上台来讲话，这个Bob Anderson 先生。
And he addresses these 1,500 people and he says.
然后呢，这个安德森先生就在1500个人面前，他就这样子讲。
This is your 4th session of the 16 lecture series? Yes, they said.
他说这个是不是你们的好像这个第16场演讲当中的第4场演讲？然后他们就讲说是的。
And then he said, let me tell you what happened to us when we were on our way home after our 3rd night program.
然后他就讲说，我告诉你们哈，在我们半年前听的。第3场听完之后，我们回家之后，我们做了什么事情？他说：“让我跟你们讲。”
Remember when they went through our program in Creston, they had not yet gotten through the 4th night when I talk about diet and disease.
记得就是我们那个半年前在 Creston 这个城市跟他们分享之后呢，在第三场第3个晚上的时候，他们还没有学到好像关于这个饮食健康跟营养跟疾病的关系。
So he tells these people.
所以他就跟他们讲说。
I remember that night we were driving home.
他说我记得在那个第3个晚上，我开车回家的时候。
And my wife Teresa turns to me and says, "Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're going to make some changes tonight."
然后这个 Bob 的太太就跟他先生 Bob 讲说，他说 Bob 啊，我对这好像我对一生当中许多的这些这个生活我都已经厌倦了，我今天晚上一定要做一些改变。
Bob, I don't want to be a widow.
他说Bob 他说他太太说 Bob 我不想成为一个寡妇。
We're going to do an extreme makeover.
他说我们要做一个很极端的一个改变。
And he told the audience, well, I shrugged my shoulders because I don't know what she wanted to do because Dr. Lee had not said anything yet about making some changes.
他说哎呦，他说那个时候呢他一边开车一边就好像耸着肩膀说，我不晓得我太太要跟我建议什么，因为今天还只是第3个晚上，医生都还没建议我说，戴汉斯博士还没跟我们讲说我们到底要做什么改变，还没讲啊。
So as we got home,
当我们回到家之后，
we went to the room with the fireplace.
然后我们就回到好像就是我们的客厅那边，这个有冬天可以取暖的这个壁炉的前面。
And then she said to me, Bob, let's take care of the Marlboro cigarettes.
那个我的太太就说 ，Bob， 我们把这个Marlboro 牌的香烟呢，我们这个事情我们可以不要管了。
Oh, I love these Marlboro cigarettes.
哎呦，我很喜欢抽这个 Marlboro 香烟哦。
But I knew that she meant business.
但我知道呢，这个是抽香烟呢是对身体不好的。
And she said, get them all.
我太太就说把它放弃了。
So I got a whole box full of Marlboros that I had.
所以我有一整箱的这个 Marlboro 香烟我都买好的。
Took them to the fireplace.
就把它拿到这个壁炉围前面。
She gave me the match.
他就把那个火柴给我。
And I knelt in front of the fireplace.
那我就在我的这个壁炉前面哈。
And as the cigarettes were burning,
当我看到那些我的抽的烟全部都被烧的时候，
I took some very deep breaths
我就
because I knew it would be my last time.
我就把这个好像这个烧的这些烟吸进去了，因为我知道这是我最后一次可以吸这个烟。
But I thought it was time. She's right.
我说但是我知道是我太太是对的。
But then she came with a couple of 45-gallon garbage bags.
但是呢，他来到这个垃圾桶这边
olive green color.
所有的都是绿色的
And she took me down to the basement.
他就带我到这个地下室。
Where we had 2 horizontal ice freezers.
我就是地下室，我有很多的这个很长的电冰箱。
And she opened the lids.
他把这个电冰箱的盖子给打开。
And she said, Bob, we're going to clean those out tonight.
他说 ，Bob， 我今天要把所有这个冰箱里面的东西都丢掉。
And he tells the audience.
然后他就是
I don't understand her.
当时他告诉那个我的前面的会众说，我不晓得，我不晓得我太太。
And I question her, and I say, but he hasn't said anything about meats or anything like this. Why do you want to do this?
然后我这个 Bob 呢，我呢就跟太太讲说，但是这个戴汉斯博士医生他还没有讲说关于吃肉的问题嘛，你为什么现在就要来解决这些肉呢？
Oh, yes, he said something.
这个太太说，哦，没有，他讲咯。
He said, if it has a mother,
他说，如果说，这个东西呢，吃的饮食是有妈妈的，有母亲的，会生
or
的，
face,
或者是有脸的
don't eat it too often.
不要吃太多。
Oh, I may have said that more as a joking remark.
你知道，我这个是用开玩笑的方式讲的。
But there was some truth to it.
但是这个是有这个真理在里面。
You have to soften the people's resistance.
你必须要就是慢慢的就是能够打开他们心中的这个结。
So, I looked into the freezer.
所以我就看一看那个。
I look at my favorite sirloin steak. I said, no, I don't want to do this.
他说，我就看一看，哎呦，我的冰箱里面有这么宝贵的这个牛排，哎呦，我不想丢掉。
Bob, I don't want to be a widow. Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and we're going to clean this thing out tonight.
他说，但是 Bob， 我不想要成为一个寡妇。你如果吃这么多死掉了，我怎么办？我们今天晚上就要把这些解决掉。
She was like a sergeant. She had the gun on my chest.
他好像是一个这个士兵拿着一个枪对着我这个心脏一样。
And there went my sirloin steak.
所以我就看到我的眼前我这些牛排，没了。
The next is a chicken.
下一个是鸡肉。
I mean, chicken is all right. It's white meat, isn't it?
鸡肉已经是白肉了嘛。
Why is she so rigid?
她为什么这么就是僵硬呢
？But I can tell, she means business, and the chicken disappears.
但是她真的是说到做到，哇，那个鸡肉呢，没了。
And then I look at the fish.
然后我就看到那些鱼肉。
Actually, the fish is looking at me.
然后这个 这个鱼好像都在看着我一样啊。
And I'm beginning to get nervous
然后我就开始觉得紧张了啊。
because people in general all know that fish is one of the fairly good animal products.
我们因为很多人一般人都说这个鱼肉其实是那个健康上是很不错的东西啊。
I will talk about some of these things later on, but not now. You're taking everything away from these people. They will never come back.
我就说，哎呦，这些事情我们不要现在讲，你现在就把这些东西全部拿掉的话，这些听众将来都不会再回来了嘛。
We cleaned 2 freezers.
我们就把2个冰箱全部给打扫干净。
There were just some raspberries and some spinach and some of these things here. All the sausages, all the cheese, everything was gone that was there before.
所以就是只有剩下一点点那个什么冷冻蔬菜水果之外呢，剩下这些什么那个什么起司啦，什么所有的东西全部都没了。
They filled 2 olive green 45-gallon garbage bags.
45
Gallon garbage bags.
他们把2桶这个45这个加仑的这个大的垃圾箱的全部装满了。
And I was getting very concerned as I listened to Bob because he's removing all the wonderful things that people think are making life worthwhile.
然后呢，我就开始在担心是哇，这个人把就是一般人都觉得很有价值的这些东西呢，全部一口气把它丢掉了，处理掉了。
What's he going to do next?
下一步他会做什么啊？
So then he says, Teresa took me to the kitchen, and we went to the refrigerator, and she opened that upper compartment, and she said, Bob, we're going to clean this thing out tonight.
然后我的太太Teresa就带我去，就把我们家里的这个楼上的冰箱一打开，说 Bob， 今天晚上我们要把这些东西也处理掉。
What do I see? Haagen-Dazs ice cream. No.
他说我看到什么？哎呦，这个是那个德国的那个哈根达斯啊冰淇淋。哎呦
Face and mother, right?
这个东西有这个他的母亲，也就是母牛。
Dairy products, lots of fat, lots of cream. Not ideal food.
这个是有这个母牛所做的这个牛奶做的冰淇淋。这个东西呢是很高脂肪的，不好。
Brilliant in taste, you can't resist the second serving and the third serving on the fourth serving, right?
因为那个就是每一次一吃第一口之后呢，第2口、第3口、第4口，你很难能够拒绝，对不对？
Almost addictive.
几乎是那种让人可以上瘾的东
And
西。
Teresa brought another bag.
然后Teresa呢，她就带了另外一个袋子，
The ice cream disappeared.
那个冰淇淋呢也都没了，
And a lot of things disappeared.
还有很多东西都没了。
And then she moved to the pantry.
然后呢，她就是去看这些这个面包类的。
And he said to the audience, I looked at the shelves.
然后他就跟那个当时的这些会众讲说，我看看我的这个厨房那个柜子里面的这些面包，
And they were my favorite foods.
这些都是我喜欢的。
M&Ms,
M&M 这个是这个是巧克力哈。
yeah, Oreos,
这个 Oreo 这个是那个夹心饼
potato chips.
这个洋芋片。
Oh, I just looked at these things and I knew I was safe because no mother, no face.
我就看看这些东西，我说哦，这些东西呢是没有母亲，也没有这个一个脸啊。
And I said to Teresa, no mother, no face. This is okay.
然后我就跟我的太太Teresa说，这些东西是没有母亲，也没有这个脸的，可以吧？这些东西。
And she says, Bob, he said something the other night that if it's refined foods, if they're processed foods, if they're refined foods, if they're engineered foods, don't eat them too often.
然后呢，那 Teresa 说，Bob，你记得这个戴汉斯医生呢，讲过说，好像这个东西，如果说是精致的东西而且是不好的这个东西呢，也可以不要吃。
And I'm getting more and more nervous.
然后我就觉得说越来越紧张，
I am sort of beginning to shake a little bit.
我觉得哎呦，有点好像在发抖了。
I'm beginning to pray, Lord, send an earthquake to stop this man.
我就心里面在想说，哎呀，他继续在讲他这个故事，我想说，我请上帝呢发一个地震，嗡嗡嗡嗡，就让这个人不要再讲下去。
And the Lord says, no, you don't understand. This is Canada. This is not California. We have no earthquakes up here.
然后呢，我在祷告之后，我就觉得是上帝跟我讲说，哎，你祷告错了，这里是加拿大，不是加州，没有地震。
Lord, let the transformer blow so the electricity goes dead.
我就跟上帝祷告说，主啊，你就把这个地震移过来这边，让他们就是马上发生吧。
And the Lord says, relax.
上帝就你那个冷静下来。
It's my program, not yours.
上帝说这是我的健康讲座，不是你的。
Good reality check, isn't it?
那这个是真正的是一个很好的，就是跟上帝对话。
And once the products are gone from the shelf and have been transferred to the garbage bag,
当这些东西全部都从好像这个冰箱里面呢，或者是从这个食物柜里面呢，全部都是再丢到这个大的垃圾袋里面去之后，
the sergeant wife drags him to the red bar.
然后就是这个士兵一样的这个坚强的太太呢，就把这个先生带到他们这个房子里面的酒吧去。
And she says, Bob, what about those drinks?
然后他说 ，Bob， 这些酒精、这些饮料怎么办？
He tells the people, I'm a builder. I work hard. And when I'm done, I come home. I have my cigarette, my Marlboro. I relax in the chair, turn some television on. And then I have my gin and my vodka. I can relax.
然后他说：“哎呦，你知道吗？我平常就是工作很辛苦，工作回来之后呢，我就可以抽一点点烟一小杯酒然后就是好像就是那个，我就坐在好像这个沙发上可以看一点点电视。”
And then he tells her, look, Teresa, this is made from grains. He's in favor of grains. He's not saying anything against grains. These are grains.
然后我就跟那个我太太讲，你看看这些酒，这些都是那个什么高粱还是那个什么，就是五谷杂粮所做的，这发酵做的这些东西啊。
That's how you make those relaxing alcoholic drinks.
但是这些东西是拿来变成这个发酵之后变成酒精了嘛。
And she just runs over me and she says, look, these are refined foods, right?
但是他就说，但是这些东西是精致啊，经过精致的过程的啊。
Alcohol doesn't come like that in nature.
这个没有酒精是任何一个酒精是上帝自然的创造的，
It's made.
都是被人所创造的。
And I feel the gun on my chest. And I pour my vodka down the drain.
我就觉得我太太拿这个枪在对着我的心脏，
My
我就把
black
这个
velvet.
我就把这个酒这个 vodka 呢，就是倒到
My
这个
Daniels. It's all gone. It's
还有
all gone. It's all gone.
这些有名的酒呢，全部都是一瓶一瓶，好像倒到这个水槽里面，一瓶一瓶全部都没了。
And I know that I will have no people coming back on Monday night. This is Thursday night. Monday is the next session. It won't happen.
我就想说，哎呀，糟糕了！他把这些话讲出去，我那个是星期四而已，在下一次这个周末过去之后，星期一晚上，他们这些人都不会再回来听了。
He tells the people,
他告诉人家说，
I had a shadow following me everywhere I would go.
他说我觉得有一个影子啊，我不管走到哪里，就好像有一个影子在跟着我走。
The shadow was 7 feet long and 4 feet wide.
这个影子好像是这个7尺长，然后4尺宽。
And I knew I would be in that box any day.
他说我知道说这个是好像可能在讲棺材一样他说有一天我会进去那个里面的。
My father died at 62. I was 66. I would be in that box any day now.
他说我知道说我的父亲是62岁死的，我呢是66岁，我有一天很快的可能就会进去这个棺材里面。
I had heart disease,
我呢有心脏病，
angina pain.
我还有这个心绞疼
I
痛。
couldn't walk to my mailbox 200 feet away.
我那个家里的这个邮箱只是200尺之外呢，我都连走都走不到过去拿那个邮箱。
I had to get into my car to drive there to pick up my mail because of my chest pain.
我必须好像就是那个有一个小小的车子呢，让能够开着去那边拿我的心，因为我的心绞疼痛。
I had severe arthritis
我有那
affecting
个
my back.
我有很严重的，好像这个关节疼痛，就是会影响到我的这个背后。
I was 60 pounds overweight.
我已经是超重60磅。
And I was an invalid. I was no longer able to work.
我呢就是根本就是没办法再继续工作的情况。
My favorite seat was the couch in front of the television.
我最喜欢的地方呢，就是电视前面的那个沙发。
And my strongest muscle in the body was the muscle here.
我最强的身体的肌肉就是能够开这个电视按钮的这个。
I used it all the time, changing channels.
我用这个大拇指呢，一直就是改变我的要看的电台。
And I thought, well, that's what happened when you're 66 years of age. That's what you do.
我说，哎呀，反正我已经是66岁，这就是我的生活啦。
These are diseases of old age.
我整个这个年龄，我就是这样的
Nothing to do
疾
about
病
it.，
我什么事情都做不到。
But Teresa had a different idea, he said.
他说我的太太 Teresa 呢，她有不同的这个想法。
As a matter of fact, when we cleared out all these things from our house,
事实上，从我们家里当中把这些所有的不干净的、不洁净的东西全部丢掉之后，
it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
它是早上，我们清除这些东西呢，就清到早上2点了。
The freezers were almost totally empty.
我的那个冰箱几乎是全部要空空的了。
The shelves were empty.
整个我好像那个衣橱柜里面的对不起，那个食物柜子里面的东西全部都空空的了。
The wet bar was dry.
我的那个整个这个放酒的那个地窖呢，里面呢全部都干掉了。
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I said to Teresa, Teresa, what are we going to have for breakfast tomorrow?
所以已经早上2点，我就问我的太太 Teresa， 那明天早上我们早餐吃什么啊？
Think about it. This is the first question for you to write down and to think about when you go home.
你知道吗？这个也许是你第一个问题啊，你要问我的就是问答时间问的第一个问题可能就是这样子。
When you go home
当你回家之后
this afternoon,
这个下午
take a look in your freezers, on the shelves. Look around and see what are the foods that you have in your house.
你回家之后，你把这个冰箱打开，然后就把你的这个食物柜里面的东西打开，你看一看有什么东西。
Are these foods that have a mother and a face?
这些食物呢，有没有他的这个他们的这个母亲有没有这个脸？
Are these refined foods?
这些是不是这个精致的食物？
Are these foods that are not in our best interest with a lot of caffeine and alcohol and so on?
这些食物呢，是不是对你来说是对你的身体没有帮助？有许多这个咖啡因或者是这个酒精在里面的。
Do you have foods that come out of the hand of the master designer?
你有没有一些食物呢？是我们的这个无限智慧的上帝所创造的这个自然里面所给你的食物呢？
Fresh fruits,
新鲜的食物
vegetables,
这个蔬菜，
whole grains,
全麦的这个
not white flour.
谷类
No. Whole grains.
全麦的谷类，而不是那些
Not white rice, brown
白面
rice.
粉，不是那个白面
I
粉。
know that's a difficult message for many Chinese people, isn't it?
也许说好像对中国人来说，好像是这个是不是那么简单的一个信息。
When I was in India, the city of Bangalore, I had 1,500 millionaires sitting right there for 16 sessions.
我在这个印度讲这些事情的时候呢，有这个百万富翁呢，他坐在那边听我讲
And
16
most
个
of them had already bypassed surgery and they were clogged up again because they don't last.
然后就是还有很多的人呢，他们就是也有经过这个心脏的搭桥手术。我告诉到这个心脏搭桥手术不是办法，
They brought their personal chefs that cook for them.
他们还带他们自己的这个烹饪的这个营养师，在他们这个私人的那个这个烹饪私人的厨师来听我的课。
These are rich, intelligent people.
这些都是有钱而且又聪明的人。
And they realized that medicine can only do so much for you when it comes to these kind of diseases that are largely lifestyle related. You have to change the lifestyle.
然后呢，他们就学到说，原来他们身上有这么多这个疾病呢，现代的医学呢，只能够帮助他们某一部分解决问题，他们必须要改变他们的生活这个饮食习惯。
And they were a very, very compliant group of people. They wanted to do that because they said, we are at the edge. We don't know how long we're going to be around. We want to make every change that you tell us.
然后呢，他们这些人都是很希望能够愿意做改变的人，因为呢，他们觉得他们已经活在这个岁数的快要结束的那一端，他们觉得说不晓得什么时候他们会离开这个人世，他们需要改变。
But my biggest struggle with them was
但是呢，对我来说最大的这个挑战就是，
to look at brown rice more favorably.
就是说要他们呢感觉到说，他们看到糙米饭比白米饭更有吸引力。
You don't understand. This is Indian culture. We will not eat anything but white rice.
你知道这个你们不晓得这个不容易啊，这个是印度人的文化，他们什么东西都不吃，他们只想吃白米饭。
And they also love some of their white bread.
他们也喜欢吃这个白面包
White was in.
所有的事情都是白。
And finally, in despair, I said to them, don't you understand? Brown is beautiful. And I looked into their brown faces. I said, brown is the in color. And I said, ah.
后来就是我觉得是圣灵感动他们，让他们才知道说，我告诉你哈，不是白色的，而是那种糙米的黄色呢，是更好看的颜色。他们说，哦。
And so they began to mix some brown rice into the white rice.
所以他们就是逐渐把这个白米饭里面呢掺这个黄色的这个糙米饭。
Because remember, I told you, I'm a gradualist. introduce people to these things, and they will after a while catch on, and they will make the decision themselves.
还记不记得我刚刚之前跟你们讲说，我是一个逐步改进他们的人，所以他们呢就是这样子逐步改进之后呢，渐渐他们自己会改变。
Because I don't believe that you can dictate to people when it comes to foods.
因为有一个事情，我就是不相信说我呢能够在食物上面呢，就好像是这个暴君一样专制的人，就要他们马上就改变。
Food has to do with culture. It has to do what your parents did. Food has to do with what you have learned to really enjoy. It has to do with emotional satisfaction, celebrations, and so on. It's a very complicated issue.
因为这个所谓的食物呢，就是跟你的文化、跟你所生长的环境、跟你的父母亲的很多这个复杂的东西有关系。
The decision to make changes cannot be dictated. It has to come from within.
所以所有这种那个改变呢，不能够从上面像一个暴君专制的要你改变，而是你自己必须要从内心的想要改变。
And it usually comes in response to intensive education that is lovingly provided.
然后呢，就是这个改变呢是根据这些很好的一个教育让他们学习之后呢，他们自己愿意逐渐的改变。
And then Bob tells a story. He said, that shadow was following me everywhere I would go.
然后呢，我就记得就说有一个这个有钱的人，他带着自己的厨师跟着他走的时候。
And I accepted my ailments as being part of aging.
然后呢，他们还有就是面对另外一个问题，就是关于他们这个年纪越来越老。
And then my physician visited me one time with his 2 teenagers.
然后就是有一个这个医生呢，就带着这个2个青少年来看我。
He came to my home.
他来到我的家。
A car, and he had something. He unloaded firewood from my home.
He unloaded what?
Firewood.
Firewood.
That's how you heat your stoves in the wintertime in Canada.
那我就记得就是在这个加拿大呢，就是这个
Lumber.
这个医生呢，就带着这个2个青年人呢来到我家呢，他还把这个就是家里这个壁炉这个炉围能够燃烧的这个材料，这个木头呢放到我家。
Because my physician knew that I had angina pain, that I couldn't do it myself anymore. It was the darkest day of my adult life.
然后这个 Bob 就说呢，我知道说我的医生他知道说我呢有这个心绞疼痛，所以这些事情我没有办法能够帮这些把这个这么重的这些木头拿来帮。我觉得说那个时候呢，是我觉得是我的人生当中是最黑暗的时期。
I was a very successful builder.
我过去是一个很成功的一个建造房子的人。
I've been very successful in what I was doing.
我在我的这个事业当中呢，我是很成功的。
And all of a sudden realizing that my physician had to come with his teenagers to take care of my firewood for the fall and winter season totally demoralized me.
然后呢，我现在才终于明白说，我的医生居然带着2个年轻人呢，把这个木头呢。我自己不能够搬，他就特地来帮我搬到家里呢，让我就是感觉到我整个人的这个人生价值观呢有一个很大的一个冲击。
It depressed me because I realized I was no longer in charge of my own life. I was an invalid.
因为到那个时候呢，我才感觉到就是我真的是一个非常沮丧的这个时候，因为我居然是什么事情我都是无能为力，我不能够去做。
A cardiac cripple.
我是一个这个心脏的这个残疾人，心脏病的这个残疾人。
And so, yeah, we made those big changes after the 3-night meeting.
所以我们在这个3个晚上的这个健康讲座之后呢，我们就决定有一个很大的一个改变。
And as Bob tells the story with great, he was really enthusiastic about it.
然后当这个 Bob 他在跟那个我的所有的会众分享这个事情的时候，他是非常的有这个热情。
He was vexing eloquently already for 25 minutes.
他呢就是已经开始在讲了，已经超过已经是25分钟了。
And I didn't know how to grab the microphone from him.
You did not. You did.
I could not. I didn't know how to do it.
然后我就不晓得要怎么个去他的前面把他的麦克风给他抢回来，我没办法。
He said, if I take the microphone, then the people think this man is hiding something. So I couldn't grab the mic.
我就想说是，如果说我从他的身上把这个麦克风抢回来呢，人家会以为说我到底在隐藏什么东西，不敢跟人家泄露，所以我就不敢拿他的麦克风。
And this was my important, game-changing night.
但是那一天晚上呢，对我来说是一个非常重要的一个 改变这些听众的想法的那一个晚上。
This is like when I showed them 80 different slides that show that diet and disease are directly related, especially when we talk about circulation-related diseases.
那一天晚上，我本来是想讲说我有80个这个幻灯片要讲说关于这个营养如何就是改变人的这个身体里面的血液循环，因为我要讲很多跟这个血液循环有关系的这个疾病。
These are called chronic diseases because we have no cure for them. They last until you die.
这些东西就叫做慢性病，因为这些东西是没有一些这个药呢可以医治的，然后就会一直这些慢性病呢会让你就是一直拖延到死亡。
You have diabetes, you can take all the medications you want, you will die with diabetes at the end.
那么你有这个糖尿病，你会一直服这个糖尿病的药呢，直到你死亡为止。
Our most common disease, our most common killer diseases are chronic diseases where we have no cure to offer.
很多这些这个有疾病的呢，都是那种慢性的疾病，然后呢，我们没有任何一点这个医疗这个医药可以帮忙药物可以帮忙。
And so Bob was telling these people that when they got the results back after 4 weeks,
然后呢，就是当这个 Bob 呢就告诉这些在听众的人，他说当他们就是听完这些讲座之后，4个星期完毕，听完这些讲座之后，
they lost the most weight.
他们失去最多的这个体
They had
重，
the biggest drop in blood pressure.
他们的这个血压降低的最多。
Many of the diabetics were no longer diabetics,
很多人就是不再是糖尿病
and they never felt so good.
他们从来都不觉得说自己身体是有这么好过。
They had the best results of all of these people. There were 1,500 of them. They had the best result. I'm sorry, there were 400 people in the Creston program. They had the very best results of the whole group.
然后他们说，在这个加拿大这个 那个城市里面呢，400多个人参加当中，这一对夫妻呢，他们的血压健康量起来是最好的。
Why do you think they had the best results?
你知道为什么他们会有一个最好的这个结果吗？
Because they started the program after the third night. They didn't wait for the gradualist-oriented professor.
为什么呢？因为在我还没有讲完之前，他第3个晚上他们就开始实行这些，而没有说等到我这个逐渐要去他们改变这种方式没有。
And when they told the story to these people there,
那当就是他把这个故事跟那天第4个晚上那些会众讲的时候，
he had them wrapped around his little finger.
他必须要就是把他的这个手指的等于好像就是包扎一下。
They were just sitting there mesmerized as this builder talked about what happened to him.
因为这些这个听众呢，他们在那边就是很稀奇，说这个建造房屋的人呢，他在那边把他的故事告诉他们。
And then he told them, I could not do any walking because of my chest pain, because of my angina, so that's one thing I couldn't do.
他说：“我过去呢，就是连这个走出去外面的邮箱拿信件都做不到，因为这个我的心绞疼痛，我是做不到的。”
Most of the people in our class, they walked their 10,000 steps. They walked the 2-3 miles a day. They were very active. My wife and I, we hadn't done anything.
他说，在那些里面听了1500个人呢，大部分的人都是他们每天都走1万步啦，做一些什么运动啦，而我跟我太太几乎是什么都做不到的。
But in spite of it, because the dietary power is so overriding everything else, they had the best results in terms of their risk factors.
但是呢，因为就是他们所做的饮食的改变呢，使他们就是他们的量完血压之后的数据显示呢，在那400个人当中变得是最好的。
So after the program was over, they said, maybe, we feel so good, maybe I should try to do some walking, some hiking.
然后呢，因为这个当他们在Creston 那边的另外一个城市讲完之后呢，他们觉得自己的身体状况很好，他觉得说我应该要做一些什么走路运动。
He had lost weight, his arthritis had improved, his pain was much, much, much less. His physician had reduced many of the medications.
然后他的这个已经体重已经减轻了，他可以开始走路了。他的这个很多关节疼痛也都没有了。然后就是他呢已经开始就是很多那些药物呢，他的医生都已经给他减轻了很多的药物。
The insulin had been reduced to half the amount for his wife, who was a diabetic.
他的太太也本来有糖尿病，这个糖尿病的这个胰岛素 insulin 呢，也给他减低成为1半了。
So they start walking every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, increasingly to 1 hour a day.
所以他们开始走路呢，从这个10分钟增加到15分钟，增加到20分钟，最后呢，他们每天能够走1个小时。
Remember, that's my logo, gradualism. Move, but you make the decision how fast you want to move and how far you want to go.
他说，本来这个就是我要建议他们的这个逐渐改变的这个方式，你那个开始去走路不管是你走多远都可以。
Listen to your body.
你要听你的身体的这个反应。
He walks the foothills of the Rocky Mountains where he lives.
他住的地方有这个加拿大的落基山脉呢，他就是在山底下走路。
And then he gets bored about the walking.
然后他开始觉得好像这个走路好像很无聊、很枯燥无味。
Same people in the morning that I see.
每天早上看到这些一样的人。
Kind of boring.
哎呦，好无聊啊。
And he calls his son in Santa Monica.
那他就那个打电话给他的儿子，在这个Santa Monica。
His son is a cyclist.
他的儿子呢是一个骑脚踏车的。
And he says, "Listen, son, can a 66-year-old man learn how to ride a bike?"
他就问他的儿子说：“哎，儿子啊，66岁的老人家可不可以骑脚踏车啊？”
And the son says, "Dad."
他的儿子说：“爸爸。”
Are you asking about yourself?
你在问说你自己吗
？Yeah.
对啊。
Oh, Dad, you can do it, but you have to get yourself a titanium bike.
然后呢，这个
It's a very lightweight bike.
那这个儿子就说：“爸爸可以，但是呢，你必须要买那种就是用 Titanic 做的一种非常轻的那种脚踏车。
You need to get 21 gears.
你必须要买那种脚踏车是可以变档变21种速变速的。
You need to get an altimeter so you know where you are.
然后就是你必须要就是有这个那个你必须要知道说你自己的这个身高是多
And
少。
Dad, get those special gloves without the fingers.
就是你要买那些手套是那个手指不会就是夹住的。
And Dad, I remember you have pretty hairy legs, don't you?
就是哎呀，你的腿上好像毛很多哈。
Dad, that's too much wind resistance. Get yourself some leotards.
一种like
tight,
like leggings, right?
Yeah, very tight.
就说是你那个，因为你的腿上毛很多哈，所以那个会挡住那个会对那个风有阻碍，你就干脆去买那种紧身裤来穿。
So he tells the people there, 1,500 people, he tells them, so we go across the border to the United States.
所以呢，他说我们就从这个加拿大呢，就是过这个边境来到了美国。
We go to a bike shop.
我就到这个脚踏车店。
I'm looking at the bikes.
我就在找这个脚踏车。
And I have a sticker shock.
然后呢，我就是有这些这个不同的。
I mean, I thought they would be about $200. I mean, huge prices. I hadn't seen any bikes for decades.
然后就是我看到好像很多这些不同的这个琳琅满目的脚踏车，有些价钱非常贵的。
But my son told me, get that titanium bike with 21 gears, get those fingers, get the altimeters, and get those leotards.
然后就是，但是我儿子叫我说买的很固定，他说你要买这个用 Titanic 做的这个脚踏车很轻的要就是买这个手套然后要买这个紧身裤之类，我就全部照他的话去做。
So what happens is he buys the bike, and then he goes to the area where they sell those leotards, those leggings. They're very tight.
然后呢，他就去好像就买完这些脚踏车，他去买这个好像就是个穿在这个腿上。
And his wife becomes a sergeant again.
然后这个太太她又变成是好像要管他事情的。
She said, "What are you going to do in this area here? You're not going to buy these leotards."
那说你怎么可能能够就是在穿这样的衣服在这边骑呢？
Bob, we live in a very conservative town. If you're going to wear those skin-tight things, you're going to drive your bike at night.
但是这个太太就说，好像我们住的这个加拿大这个地方是很保守的，你穿那种紧身裤，哎呦，你只能够在晚上骑脚踏车。
But he was a man.
但是他是一个不怕的男人。
And he bought the leotards.
他就真的是买了。
On the way home,
然后在回家的路上
Teresa turns to Bob and says, "Bob."
他这个 Teresa 他太太跟 Bob 讲 ，Bob，
Do you know that you have spent $2,000 tonight?
你知道你今天晚上已经花了2000块钱哦。
He said, "Bob, what about me?"
他说：“那我呢
What, do you want a bike too?"
那 Bob 就你是不是也想骑脚踏车
I get you those good-looking leotards.
他说：“我觉得好像这个衣服好像看起来很好看。
Never mind. But I want my $2,000 too."
他说：“我也要花2000块。”
And he says, well, what do you want?
他说那你要什么？
I want a piano.
我要钢琴。
Now listen, this is for men. Listen carefully.
你注意听
This
啊，
is principle number 2 of our meeting today.
这个今天是第二个这个重点哈。
First one was check your supplies at your home, right? This is the second one now. Listen what happened.
第一个就是说是你看看你家里到底有哪些东西是需要的，哪些东西是不需要的。第二个事情，
Teresa, 64, she has never played the piano in her life.
那这个太太 Teresa 64岁，她从来都没有弹过钢琴的。
She wants to have a piano. That's ridiculous.
她说她要买这个这个钢琴，好像是令人这个啼笑皆非的。
Another piece of furniture to dust.
这好像是这个另外一个买的家具会有给人家一大堆灰尘一样。
And we, the Archie bunkers, we know best, don't we?
他说我们这个我们都懂音乐的人，我们都知道的。
And we roll over our wives. No, 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 no.
我们这些男人，我们会去跟他说：“哎呀，不要不要不要。”
Bob Anderson was pretty wise.
但是这个 Bob Anderson 这个先生他很聪明，
I mean, he knew that she was wrong.
他知道说他也许是错的，
But he was very wise. He didn't tell her.
他呢也很聪明，但是他不跟他太太讲，
Instead of just, that's very interesting.
然后呢就是没有跟他讲说不要，他说好像很有趣哦。
These are magical words when people have discussions with different concepts and ideas.
你知道吗？当就是人在交换意见，在讨论一些事情，有不同的观念的时候，好像听起来很有趣。这句话呢是可以使用的。
How often we silence our partner and say, forget it.
我们经常就是好像会把自己的这个伴侣，哎呀呀，你安静，你闭嘴，你不要再讲了，这是疯狂的，
You don't do that anymore.
你不要再这样子做了。
You just say, that's very interesting.
这好像是很有趣的。
So when you say that, you open the door for discussion.
当你就是在这样子讲话之后呢，你就等于就是打开一个门呢，使让大家能够彼此对话。
So he doesn't turn her off.
所以他没有就是拒绝他，
Instead, he asks her, is it going to be a grand piano?
他只是问他说：“你想要的是那种那个大的那种这个三脚架的钢琴吗？”
No, no, no. She said, just an upright.
这不用，只是普通的钢琴就可以了。
Then he asked the second question.
第二个问题他问，
Does it have to be a new one or could it be a used one?
他说你需要的是新的呢，还是旧的也可以呢？
And she says, no, a used one is fine.
说是旧的也可以。
And do you have any idea what it would cost?
他说你知道大概会多少钱吗？
And she says about $1,400.
他说大概1400块吧。
And he said, good, isn't it? I saved $600 just by being nice to her.
他说可以，很好。他这样的话就好像会对他好一点。
But then she said, but I also want to take some piano lessons.
他说但是我还要想就是上一点这个钢琴课。
And he says, oh, do we have a piano teacher in town?
他说我们这个城里面有这个教钢琴的老师。
Oh, yeah, I checked it out.
他说有我去检查过了。
And how much money do you need for that?
那多少钱呢？
She said, $600.
600块钱。
So I began to compute $2,000 for him for the bike, $2,000 for her, it's $4,000. And he talked about how much did that cost him? $30,000, right? How did that all work out?
反正就是他花了2000块钱，然后钢琴就是然后这些事情加起来再2000块钱加起来，然后我不晓得他怎么个花到3万块钱的。
No, Teresa had many, many health problems.
因为这个 Teresa 她本身就是有很多这个健康方面的疾病。
She was a lady about 5 feet 5 tall.
她是这个5英尺高的这一位这个女士。
And she weighed almost 250 pounds.
她就是体重超重25磅。
She was big time obese.
她是一个很大的很巨胖的。
She was also diabetic.
她呢还有这个糖尿病。
They go together, they're cousins.
他们2个呢都是一起的。
And she was depressed.
而且她呢还有这个忧郁症。
I mean, when you're that heavy and you have diabetes and you're medication, of course you get depressed, right?
因为你这么胖，你有糖尿病，你又吃药，你当然会有这个忧郁症。
And so, she would often sleep in till 10, 11 o'clock at noontime, especially when it's cold in Canada. You just pull your sheets over your head and you just stay in bed.
所以她就是经常就是那个冬天呢，就是好像会睡到10点、11点，因为在加拿大很冷啊。
That's depression.
这些都是那种忧郁症。
And so he tells the audience.
所以他就跟他的这个听众讲。
So one morning, I noticed her elbow in my rib cage.
但是有一天呢，他的这个手镯，还有就是他的这个 这个肋骨这边。
I wake up
他说我起来，
and I said, Teresa, what's wrong? It's only 7 o'clock in the morning.
他说哎呦Teresa 你怎么用这个手镯来叫我呢？现在才7点而已啊，早上7点而已。
See, she usually gets up at the crack of noon.
他本来是这个中午才起来的。
And he said, what's wrong? And she said, I've been thinking.
他说我其实在想。
And he very nicely says, that's a good thing.
他说哎很好啊。
And then she said, what have you been thinking?
那你在想什么？
I've been thinking, we are respectable people, we have money in the bank, and yet we drive this old jalopy of a car. I'm embarrassed.
他说好像我们有一些钱在这个银行里面，但是我们所开的这个车呢是很古老很旧的，我觉得好像很丢脸。
Why do we buy a new car?
我们为什么不买一台新的车子呢？
And he says,
他就说
I don't understand you.
Excuse me?
I don't understand you, he says to her.
这个先生就说我真的是不明白你为什么讲这些。
I've tried for the last 3 years to get a new car.
我从这个3个年前我就想说要有一个新的车子。
I'm tired of this old jalopy.
我其实也很不喜欢这个旧车。
And every time I brought it up, you said, no, this is not the time to do it. No.
因为每一次我跟你提说想买这个新车的时候，你就跟我讲不要换。
And then she says to him, but Bob, didn't you realize I was sending you out to do the shopping for the last 3 years? I've never been out of the house.
但是呢你记不记得，就好像就说是那个我过去3年都是我叫你去菜市场买车，我自己从来一步都没有出门。
Bob, do you realize the pain that a woman experiences when she's 250 pounds and she's supposed to be more like 130 pounds, 135 pounds? Do you realize the pain that we experience?
你知不知道，好像就是一个女人呢，她的好像身体是超过200多磅，但是她应该其实是看起来是130多磅就可以了，这样子就是你感觉到就好像很不敢走出去那种这种心灵的疼痛，你可以感受得到吗？
And Bob thinks,
Bob 就说。
I'm just a man and I'm a builder. What do I know about these kind of things?
我只是一个男人，我是一个建造房子的那个建筑商，我怎么会想到这些？
Didn't you think about this? Why I send you always out to do all the shopping and everything else?
但是你有没有想过说，总是我叫你去那个外面买这些杂货回来？
And I boycotted your purchase of a new car because if you had a new car, then you wanted us to see all of our friends, and I was not ready to be seen by anybody in our little town of how I had enlarged.
因为我想到说，就是如果说你买了一台新车呢，你要带着我去看这些朋友呢，我都不敢去见他们，因为我真的是太胖了。
And he was totally unaware of these things. But she said, but now look, have you noticed? I lost about 35 pounds.
那他说，但是你看看，你有没有看看我现在已经失去了35磅了。
And it's coming off 1 to 2 pounds a week by following Dr. Deal's program.
每一个星期，我听完这个戴汉斯博士的这个讲完之后呢，每一个星期我都减了1到2磅。
I'm ready for a new car and to face my friends.
现在我准备好，我要买一个新车呢，我要去跟大家见面了。
They bought a car for $26,000.
他们买这个车子呢，这个花掉了26000。
$2,000 for the bike, $2,000 for the piano, $26,000 for the car, $30,000.
所以那个2000块钱他的脚踏车，2000块钱的钢琴，然后就是26000块钱这个买的新车花掉了3万块钱。
It was his black humor that attracted the people to get his attention.
那么他用这样的这个反制的这个笑话呢，来引起这个底下的听众来讲他的内容，来吸引他的内容。
Well, by that time, Bob had already spent almost an hour, and that was largely my time. I'd made 2 mistakes.
然后呢，当那个时候呢，这个他讲完的时候已经快1个小时，我觉得说我犯了2个错误。
First mistake was I gave him the mic.
第一个错误就是我给他这个麦克风。
Second mistake I made, I didn't tell him you got 3 to 5 minutes.
我第二个错误呢，我没跟他讲说他只能够讲3到5分钟。
And so I realized that I had failed to give them this game-changing big lecture on diet and disease.
然后呢，我觉得说我那一天晚上我好像就是很失败，说没有把这个我应该讲的，好像关于这个营养跟疾病之间的关系那一场呢，给他讲出来。
Instead, this man had taken everything away from these people that they thought made life worthwhile.
然后呢，就是反而呢，这一个人呢，把所有的这些我要讲的内容都去取代而至的是，让他们觉得说这个生命是有价值的。
I knew that they would not come back
我觉得说他们不会再回来，
for the Monday night session.
就是星期一不会再回来听。
And I began to think about I have to call Lily and tell her that I'm probably coming back a few weeks earlier because I made 2 mistakes.
我就想打电话跟我太太讲说，我大概犯了错了，我也许就说，不用16场全部讲完，可能会提早回来也说不定。
And knowing my wife, she would say, "Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're going to be home sooner."
那我以为说，我太太会跟我讲说，哎呀，我很高兴说你能够很早就回来。
And I said to myself, she doesn't understand. This is my second trip program in Canada. It cannot be a failure. Otherwise, it's the end of my career as being involved in these kind of projects.
我想说他不明白，因为我这个 CHIP 这种心脏疾病预防的这个健康讲座呢，我在加拿大是第2场的开始，我不能够现在这个时候就已经失败，我不能够将来整个这个计划都泡汤。
2 mistakes, and it foiled my program.
我觉得说这2个这个错误呢，会让我整个这个将来的这个每一个晚上讲健康的计划呢泡汤。
Monday night,
星期一晚上，
I go to the community center.
我到这个社区中心去，
That's where we have our program usually.
就是我们在那一边租了那个社区中心呢，做这个演讲。
It's 7:15.
这个是6:45。
The parking lot is packed.
整个这个会场呢都坐满了人。
And I know what happened.
我知道为什么了，
They canceled the chip program.
他们取消了这个 CHIP 这个 program。
And instead, they have now a wine and cheese party there.
他们在那边有这个喝酒的，还有就是这个什么这个吃那个 cheese 的这样的一个这个宴会。
So I'm just curious. So I open the door to the big auditorium.
那我就我是这样子想，但我就把门打开。
And I'm sure they're all there because of the wine and cheese party.
我想说他们来这边就是来参加这个喝酒、品尝酒，还有这个吃那个 cheese 的 party。
I open the doors, and what do I see? Some of my chippers.
那我打开门一看，才看到哇，这些都是我的 CHIP program 的以前毕业的学生。
Do you see how valuable my lectures are?
你知不知道，好像就是我所讲的这些内容是多么有价值？
It's hard to change people's lifestyles, isn't it?
是很难去改变别人的，好像这个生活习惯。
And one of these chippers looked at me and said, "Dr. Deal, we're so excited to see you. Check the number 5 tonight, right?"
然后就说是在很多人他们讲说这个戴安斯博士，我们很高兴看到你，因为你是要讲这个 CHIP 的第5场。
They had all come back.
他们全部都回来了，
And they brought their friends.
他们也把他们的朋友都带来了。
I dashed to my car.
然后呢，就是
I get my computer.
我把这个我的车子这个电脑都打开，
I combine lectures number 4 that we missed, and now with lecture 5.
我就把这个我第4场该讲的没有讲的呢，
I
跟第5
walk
场
into
的
the auditorium.
全部都一起合璧
It's
来
2
讲。
minutes to 7,
然后就是我到那个就是那个现场的只
and
剩
the
下2
people are
分
happy.
钟，人们都很快乐。
It's 2 minutes to 7. People are happy because they're of Germanic origin. Remember, they're always punctual. When you're at time, you're already winning.
他们那个到那边的时候已经很准时的要坐那边要听了。
I get up there and I welcome the people and I said, "I'm so glad to see all of you because really I didn't expect anybody there, right?"
然后就是我到那边，我就跟他们讲说，我很高兴能够听到你们每一位坐在那边，因为我都没有期待会有这么多人来。
And I see you brought your friends.
你把你的朋友也带来了。
We're excited tonight because we have lectures number 4 and 5. And the people said, "Where is Bob?"
那么就说我们在这边就讲说，我就说我今天我想跟你们分享第4场跟第5场，他们讲说 Bob 在哪里啊？
They didn't want me.
他们不想要听我的。
They loved the straightforward, earnest, direct approach of this humble man, a builder, who told them all about the things that he did and how he had improved his lifestyle.
他们其实很想听这个 Bob 就是他这个又谦虚的，然后就是把那个整个他的生命怎么个改变的这种那个话呢，全部直话直说讲出来的这个 Bob 的这个故事呢，他们很喜欢，很想再继续听他讲的内容。
They didn't want to have my sophisticated educational approach. They just want to have it straight from the heart.
他们不想要好像听我讲一大堆这种科技的、科学的那种、医学的这种这些有学术的内容，他们很喜欢听他直接分享他的美好的故事。
What a lesson in humility
你知
for
道
me.
这个是对我来说这个是我学会这个谦卑的功课。
We think we're so big, such hot stuff.
你知道吗？我们有的时候学的时候，我们
We got the
自以为
training and we got the degrees and
我们以为说我们有这个学位，我们觉得好像我们有这些东西，我们可以讲。
It was quite an eye-opening experience for me.
这个对我来说是一个很这个眼睛就是打开的一个很好的一个让我开眼界的故事。
That program in that city in Canada
那一次那个晚上在那边这个在加拿大所讲的那一些
became one of our most successful programs.
那个是我们那个的 CHIP 整个这个心冠状动脉预防疾病健康讲座当中呢是最好的那一场。
We have over 110,000 graduates in our CHIP program around the world.
全世界呢大概有11万就是人呢从我们的这个 CHIP program 的毕业。
We have published over 50 scientific papers in medical journals.
我们那个已经在学术刊物呢，我们发表50多篇论文。
About the power of lifestyle medicine, taking responsibility of how you choose to eat, drink, exercise, love, and take care of stress.
然后就说是所有的这些生活习惯呢，能够帮助你不单是预防健康，预防这个疾病呢，能够帮助你健康，并且呢，能够让你就是更加的活得更快乐。
It was about 2 years later.
2年之后。
That Bob Anderson called me up in Loma and he said,
这个 Bob Anderson 呢，就是这个先生呢，他打电话给我在罗马琳达的时候，
I have some real surprise for you.
他说我有给你一个惊喜的事情
Actually, I have more than 2 surprises.
他说我有给你更超过两个以上的惊喜。
My first happy report is that I will be baptized into the Adventist Church.
那第一个呢，就是我会在这个安息日会教会里面呢给受洗。
He was not a very Christian man. He was just a good man, but he didn't have any real interest in religious topics. But he was changed from the inside out.
他呢就说是不是好像一个什么基督徒，他呢也不是一个什么坏人，但是他好像对这个宗教的事情不是什么关系，不是有什么关系，但是呢他是从内心的改变。
People are not won through winning arguments. They're won by being kind and loving people.
你知道吗？很多的时候，我们不是用这种跟人家辩论来引起人家的心到上帝的面前，事实上是对别人的友好跟友爱。
Second progress report, he said.
他说第二个呢，就是跟我讲的好消息，除了好像他要受洗之外，第二个这个好的这个消息。
He said, remember when my physician with his 2 teenagers came and brought the firewood for the season to my house?
你还记不记得，就是我的医生就是在冬天的时候带了2个青年人，把这个砍下的这个柴，当做我们壁炉要烧的这些木材拿到我家来的时候。
After making the lifestyle changes, I feel so good. The medications are way down. My angina is gone. And my happiest moment was when I could build a new house for my doctor.
你知道吗？就说是那个我觉得我的生命更快乐的时候，是因为我后来我的药量全部都减轻了，我不再有这个心绞疼痛呢。之后我还能够就是我能够建造房子，我帮我的这个医生呢建造房子。
At 64, he was an invalid. At 68, he's building houses again.
64岁的时候呢，他是这个在医疗上呢被诊断为就是无法长期工作。到68岁的时候，他居然又回去呢，又建造盖房子。
And then he said, my third surprise is that I got a clearance from my cardiologist that I am allowed to get on a bike and ride across Canada.
然后第3个我要跟你讲的好消息，就是我的这个医生呢跟我讲说，我不需要再开药，而且我的医生准许说我可以骑脚踏车从加拿大的西岸骑到这个东岸。
And I asked him, I said, are you really sure that you asked your cardiologist? Is that for sure? And he was upset with me because
我呢刚开始觉得说很惊讶，我问他说：“你真的是你的医生，你的心脏科医生有跟你讲说你可以骑脚踏车骑这么远的时候，他听了他觉得好有一点不太高兴。”
And Bob asked me, I mean, you are questioning me whether heart disease could be reversed. You told us that if you make these kind of changes, your heart corner arteries will open up again, you have blood flow, the angina will be gone, and you are functional again. You told me.
然后他就在电话里面他说：“戴博士，你自己讲的嘛，你自己讲说我们的心脏病能够就是逆转，然后这个我的心血管可以再打开之后，可以再变成健康回来，你自己亲口讲的。”
And because of that, I did everything you said.
然后我做的事情全部都是你说的啊。
You shouldn't be surprised.
你不应该惊讶嘛。
And Dr. Kettner, his physician,
他自己的医生，这个 Katner 医生，
on the day of the 60-day starting journey across Canada,
这个他在就是60天骑脚踏车要横过加拿大的这个旅行的开始的时候，
his physician brought his 60 Adventist church members to the starting line.
他的这个医生呢，就是带了这个60位安息日会的教友，在那个他的出发的起点。
And he said, Bob, as you embrace on this incredible journey,
他说 ，Bob，当你要开始这个奇迹之旅的要开始的时候，
you will have Charlie horses, you will have moments of discouragement, and you may not feel like getting out of bed and take the next portion of your journey to Ottawa, 2,600 miles.
他说，也许说你在那个骑这个2600英里的这么长的这个路程当中，有时候你可能会累了，有时候你会这个睡完之后第二天起来呢，不想再继续这个骑脚踏车骑下去的这样的日子。
And to help you get over this encouragement, we want to motivate you with this little box here.
然后呢，就是为了要让你在这样的这个灰心沮丧的时候呢，我们要鼓舞你的精神。我们有一个这个小的盒子要送给你。
And he said, this is the manna for the morning.
这个是每天早上的这个玛拿。
These are 60 love letters from your church members here.
这个是60封对你所写的爱的书信，是你的这个教友呢写给你的。
You will be in our prayers, and you'll be in our thoughts, in our hearts.
你会是我们所祷告的对象，你的事情呢都是在我们为你祷告当中。
You cannot fail.
你绝对不会失败的。
Somehow the television networks heard about the adventure of this man,
然后呢，这个电视台就听到了这个人的故事。
and they videotaped this man bicycling across Canada with his wife following him in the car.
然后呢，这个电视台就拍摄这个纪录片，因为这个先生呢，他这个横贯这个加拿大的时候，他骑着脚，他的太太开着车子在后面跟着。
And it had all been set up so that when he came to a town, the mayor would be there. They would give him the keys to the city and hospitality for the night.
然后就说是那个他每一次经过不同的城镇的时候呢，就已经事先安排好可以居住的地方，他的信呢也会送到那边然后就是这些住宿都已经事先安排好了。
When Bob arrived 60 days later in Ottawa, the capital of Canada,
然后就是当60天之后这个 Bob 呢，他骑到了这个加拿大的这个首都渥太华的时候，
the cycling club of Ottawa escorted him to the Parliament Hill.
这个在渥太华的这边的这个骑脚踏车的俱乐部呢，就陪着他到这个加拿大的首都的这个市政府。
And there was the Minister of Health, there was the Minister of the elderly. They were all there, and a choir was singing, "Oh, when the saints come cycling in."
然后呢，当时就是这个加拿大政府的这个卫生局长，还有一些什么加拿大的这个老人福利中心的这些老人家们，还有一个这个合唱团都在那边歌颂着诗歌，在那边欢迎，在那边等着他。
Bob had become the darling of the Canadian people.
这个 Bob 呢，就成为是加拿大人的一个模范。
He gave hope to people.
他把盼望、希望带给人们。
Regardless of your age, regardless of your heart disease, as long as you have a strong wife, you can do it.
不管是你的这个年龄是怎么样，当你有非常坚强的太太在背后支持着你，你也可以做得到。
That's a third principle that I want to take you home with, and that is, it's never too late to change and to get the benefits.
As long as you have a wife.
Yeah, that's right.
这就是当你有这个灰心丧长的时候，你还是可以做得到，只要你有一个坚强的太太在你的背后支持。
It was an incredible situation.
这个是一个很令人不可相信的一个这个时刻。
And then I received a phone call many, many years later.
然后呢，就是很多年之后，我接到了这个电话，
It was Teresa.
就是Teresa Bob 的太太 Teresa
And she said, Hans,
她说汉斯
Bob just passed away,
Bob 呢刚刚去世，
but he wanted to let you know
但是他要让你知道，
that he is so thankful that his doctor sent him to the CHIP program in Creston.
他说呢，他非常的高兴，说他的医生呢送他去参加加拿大 Creston 那边的这个心脏冠脉动脉 CHIP 这个健康讲座。
Because of the CHIP program in Creston, we have lived an extra 20 years.
就是因为在加拿大的 Creston 这个城镇所举办的 CHIP 健康讲座，我们多活了20年。
And 18 of these 20 years were good years.
然后在这个20年当中的18年呢，对我们来说都是最快乐、最美好的几年。
And he said, be sure you tell Hans,
你要去跟这个汉斯讲，
I look for him
我会等待着他。
in the morning.
等到那一天早上，我会等着你，就是耶稣来的那一天的早上。
Do you understand what he was talking about?
你知道他在讲什么吗？
He knew something,
他知道
some special events that would come and take place someday.
有一天呢，这一刻上帝会来迎娶我们的那一刻会
There
来，
would be a resurrection morning.
他会是这个我们复活的那一天早上。
Shall we pray?
让我们一起低头来祷告。
Our Father in heaven, we thank you the way you have created us,
天父上帝，我们感谢你创造了我们
what you have provided us with,
以你所创造给我们的一切，
with good food,
你所赐给我们的美好的食物
with good relationships,
让我们有一个美好的人际关系
with a future,
让我们跟我们的这个美好的将来有同在，
and the opportunity of coming back home again.
并且能够让我们有这个机会能够回到我们的天家。
We thank you for the kind of God you are,
我们感谢你是这么美好的上帝
that took care of Bob,
当你眷顾好了这个 Bob，
and they will take care of us too.
而且你会照顾我们每一位。
In Jesus' name,
奉主耶稣基督的圣名，我们祈求，
amen.
阿门。